I did.
I got it.
Brandon got it in 3.
I got it.
This goddamn thing.
Did you do it yet, Danny?
Yeah, he did it. He got it in like 2.
Danny should have gotten it real.
I'm not getting Stella.
No, we're not giving these to your friends. I'm sorry.
This is not what I do.
Too bad.
So today we're going to do an experiment in the name of science. For those of you who are familiar with my channel, you're very familiar with the Mustang, with my 200 in it that has a 2-barrel conversion from Vintage Engine Works. There's issues. There are issues with opening up the manifold on it. Mainly idle stability is not as good. And my theory is that's due to low air velocity. And so we're going to conduct an experiment today. And I've gotten the idle pretty good by screwing around with the idle timing control and some settings in the software. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. One of my theories, though, is that it's just, quite frankly, too big of a hole. And the Sniper 2300 is a 580 CFM throttle body. Now, that's less of an issue for fuel injection because you're not relying on the Venturi effect. However, I still think it does have to do with fuel atomization and air velocity. So we're going to try an experiment. I was kind of jokingly saying I'm going to build a restrictor plate for the thing, and I want to try this as an experiment. And I was talking to Dave Brisbois and Steve Abb. We keep a conversation going, and we were joking around about it. And then Steve sent me a link, and he said, "Hey, look what I found. I got this from Speedway Motors. It's designed as a restrictor plate. Apparently, it's for some sort of racing class where it allows you to legally run a larger carburetor." But what this is, it's a 1.78 bore reduction to 1.078 bore. So that's approximately a 60% reduction. So as you can see, the holes are much smaller here than they are here. So we did a little bit of math. Here it is. If we're 200 cubic inches, I ran a calculation through Summit's got a calculator for it, so it makes it pretty easy. At 200 cubic inches I didn't write it down here, at 5,200 RPM at 200 cubic inches, which is overestimating a little bit. If our VE was 110%, we'd need 330 CFM. It was about 260 CFM at an 85% VE. I know by looking at the VE in the Sniper software, I'm somewhere around 100%. So we're going to be very close. Like I said, it's a 1.78 bore reduction to 1.078. That's approximately a 60% reduction. So if we're at 580 CFM, which is what the Sniper is rated at, the 2300, we multiply that by 0.6, we get 348. So in theory, this shouldn't do anything to the top end. If anything, it should increase our air velocity with wide open throttle. In theory, and again, this is theory, we're going to see what it actually does. This should improve performance kind of all around. Don't really know what it's going to do. Don't know how it's going to react. So we're going to try it out. And I've been kind of thinking about the ways I can quantify this without having a dyno, because obviously I don't have one. I think I'm going to drive I'm going to drive one route 2 times. We're going to run a data log and take video. And hopefully when I drive the route both times, traffic patterns will kind of allow me to do it the same way. So we'll look at the data log. I'm interested to see 2 things out of that data log, top end performance and idle. So in theory, I think that idle is probably not going to change much at all. But top end, since we're going to have the amount of CFM we need through this restrictor plate, in theory, we should see beneficial performance. Measuring it's going to be kind of hard, but we'll look at the data log, and we can certainly do RPM over time if I can drive the car relatively the same both times. So this isn't going to be very scientific because I've just kind of got to... I'm going to have to kind of do it by seat of the pants, but it's going to be an interesting experiment. Let's see what happens. And just to note, we just have our standard phenolic spacer on here right now, and of course the adapter plate that is bolted to the log. And this is just a straight through, 1.78 or whatever it is. Okay, so we're going to do the best that we can here. Got to let it warm up a little bit. I rigged up the phone kind of on the console, so let's hope it doesn't go flying around. But we're going to try this. We're going to try this out. This is going to be the first drive with no restrictor. So we'll take a data log. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save my tune right now. That way, if the restrictor screws anything up, I can just revert. So we're going to go in here and download from the ECU, and I'll just overwrite what's in there right now. It's fine. Okay, so we'll let it warm up. Okay, we're about up to temp here. Thermostat's open. Let's give this a shot. Hopefully the camera doesn't fall over or anything. But we're just going to drive her out, and we'll try and get a wide open throttle run in, and then we're going to come back and we're going to swap out the spacer plate for the restrictor. Wide open throttle. All right. So we only have so much road, so wide open. Alright, so that's a good little pull there. Hopefully we can get the same next time. I'm going to do another one here, possibly, as long as I can. It looks like I'll get one in. And let's see what that yields. I forgot to turn the data log on. Let's do it quick. All right, we'll do another log. We'll do one right here, okay? We're cruising about 45, full throttle. So unfortunately, I forgot to turn the data log on, but that's okay. All I want to do is see some idle time, and I want to see just a good second gear pull. That's really all that's important. So let's go back and we'll rig it up with the restrictor plate, and we can do a comparison. Okay, so we got it on there. The studs are just barely long enough. I bought what I thought were long enough studs into the same size as the old ones. So they were a hair longer, so I swapped them. But anyways, let's fire it up and see what happens. All right, let's start it. See if it does anything really funny or not. Sounds about the same, so it'll be interesting to see what the IAC does and stuff. Seems to idle about the same, but let's give it a minute to stabilize here. I can feel more restriction in the throttle, for what it's worth. Okay, throw it in gear, a little temperature get into it there. I want to say the idle is better. Let's data log it right now. It's still got a little tiny surge in it like 6 cylinders do, but let's give her a drive. Unfortunately, I didn't data log the whole time last time, but that's okay. We don't need the whole thing. So you guys should be able to see it. Yep. I think it idles better. This might be a winner. So let's try it out. Performance-wise, it feels about the same, but I'm not. This isn't where I tested it last time. So let's see. Hopefully, we can do the same route. Let's go. Same route as the first pull, so. And we got a red light this time, and of course it went green now, but it didn't feel any different. If anything, maybe the top end's improved a little bit. So let's see if we can get into our second run over here. It runs pretty good. Seems like it's, you know, I'm not noticing any weird hesitations or anything like that. So here we are. We're going to do our second run here. This is the one right before the 40 plus. So it looks about as clear as it was last time. So let's go. Turn the data log on right about here. Let's get it back down to about 40, 45. All right. Performance seems the same. The performance seems just absolutely the same, which is kind of what I would expect. It might be a little bit smoother, but it seems about the same. So, you know, that proves it. You know, the math is right. You know, if the engine can only do 330 CFM, and the ports only allow 330 CFM, you know, it's going to be about the same. So, it's just, you know, it makes sense. So, let's get it back home. Let me cut this, we'll cut this segment right here, and we'll pull back into the driveway, see kind of how it's idling, I guess. Okay, so we're going to start taking a look at data logs now. This is as good a data as we're going to get. And I'm looking at RPM variances right now, and it's going to be a little hard to see. Maybe I can close this blind. That might be a little bit better. Anyways, the RPM is down here. So I've been looking at this, and we're seeing about 100 RPM variance. It's hard to see the little red line, but see how it's squiggly. That's idle stability. So that's like 642 right there. If I come up to a peak here, that's 757. So about 110 RPM variance. So let's take a look at the idle after we put the spacer plate on there. Okay, so now we're taking a look at a slice of idle time after the run. And I can already tell you this is looking better. So we got a peak here at 719, and we got a valley way over here. 615, so that's 100 RPM variance, but look at the distance in between. Well, maybe I need to zoom out a little bit. No, because that's about the same. So we got 737 there, 615 there. So that's still about the same, 115 or so difference. But you know what? It's not oscillating as much as it was. It looks to me like the idle is a little bit more stable. So potentially more stable idle. It's not perfect. Maybe I can play with some of the settings in the EFI, but I would say from an idle standpoint, it's a winner. Let's take a look at performance next. We'll stay on this data log because this one's got kind of everything in it. It's the one where I didn't do something stupid and forget to turn the data log on. So let's see, where are our wide open runs here? Let's compare here. This one right here I know is the last wide open pull we did, which is the 45 on. We'll zoom in a little bit. The tool is kind of the Holly zoom tool. It zooms a whole lot when you hit it, zoom in, and it zooms very little out. So let's see, where is it? Looks like it's right about there. There it is. This thing is frustrating. Here we go. All right. So this was about 45 to, whatever. 45 is important where we start. So it looks like we're about 2,700 RPM. Yeah, about 2,600 RPM. And what did we tap out at here when we tipped out? about 3,500 RPM. So I think I need to do a little math here. But, you know, my tip in and tip out, I'm thinking about this now, it's not going to be exact. That is not going to be exact. Looking at our AFR, doesn't look too horrible. So let's compare this to the other data log. Let's see, what did we end up at? 3,500. Okay, so here we are with roughly the same. Let's see, we started a little bit, about 2,700. And if I recall, we were at, what, about 3,500, 3,762. So we may have lost a little performance here. I could have stayed in it a little bit longer. Who knows? I might have to take some time snaps off of this because you can get time off of here. Not discernible enough, I don't think. Our AFR looks like it's probably a little bit more stable, but, you know, it was probably learning. Let's see, what's our closed loop comp here? It's about 4%, 1%, 4%. If we go back to the other data log, let's see, what was it, 84. If we go to this data log here, sorry, this is not, it's not the most optimum setup here. So just bear with me. This thing is so frustrating. Holly could just make this better. It's pretty janky. All right, what's our closed loop comp here? Adding quite a bit of fuel. That's interesting. I wonder why it's adding a bunch of fuel. Maybe higher velocity, better atomization. I'm not sure. Let's see, and we say we started about 2,600, so that's about the same. We ended at about 3,300, so maybe we killed the top-end performance a little bit. Not enough for me to notice, that's for sure. I need to get some longer studs for it and run this a little bit longer, but I'd say idle is certainly better, and I think that's a big win for this thing because I'd rather sacrifice a tiny bit of top end to get better idle out of it because it's a cruiser. There is zero performance difference with the restrictor. Check that out. I mean, it might be even better. I think it's running fantastic with it. So we've developed a lean stumble. I'm going to try and show you here. And it has something to do with the spacer because it wasn't doing it before. See it go lean. So we're going to take the spacer out, put the old tune back in and see if it goes away. Alright, so we figured out our lean stumble, and it was not anything related to the spacer. My fuel filter was clogged up, which is very concerning with the new tank. Hopefully it's just because I used it to drain the tank and it sucked up some crap from the old one and got it into the filter, and it finally just plugged up. So I stole the filter off of the truck, which is a very large body fuel filter. It's much bigger element, and I ordered a new one for the truck, and so this has got a way oversized filter on it now. So if there's any residual crap or anything that's going to work its way through from the new tank, it'll certainly have plenty of volume to handle it. So we did pull the restrictor plate off, and unquestionably it idles far better with the restrictor plate on it. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I think I like the restrictor plate. I think it works pretty well. I don't have the right length studs, so I took it off. We are doing cars and coffee tomorrow morning, so you know, we're going to take it on a good drive. But I won't leave the restrictor on because I didn't like the fact that the studs only had a few threads holding it on. It was fine for testing, but not good otherwise. So anyways, we'll put that on permanently, I think, with this motor for as long as we have it, which is not much longer. but I do like the way that it runs with that restrictor on there. So anyways, we'll wrap this one up. It was kind of a fun experiment. I lied about wrapping it up here. I just wanted to show you one thing. So this is the filter that was in it. I was running the Earl's filter from way back in the 1100 sniper days, which at the time this was sufficient. It's just one of those one of these porous metal filters, and this thing was plumb clogged up. And when I used the carb cleaner on it to clean it out, the magnet fell off, which is glued on there, but it doesn't matter because I'm not going to run this anymore. The element's too small. I suspect that when I drained the tank and I pumped the tank clean dry, I probably soaked up some crap that was on the bottom of the old tank, and it probably clogged this up pretty good. And then I did a good wide open run on the freeway, and I think it just I think it just totally clogged it up. So anyways, we're not going to run this anymore. I stole the filter off the truck and ordered a new one for it. It's a nice large body filter. I've shown it before. It's in another video somewhere, in probably a Phytech video way back if you're interested in looking at it. I think it's a Phytech basic tips video. It's probably like the second video I ever did. And I kind of go over, really, those are good tips for all EFI systems, so you might want to go take a look at that. Maybe I'll put a link up, link up here for that. So now we'll wrap this one up.